So using the tools that I showed you in the previous video, we're going to draw the sphere from last week's assignment, but we're going to practice doing this in Sketchbook. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an outline of my circle. Now, you're not going to want this outline to be in your finished drawing, so instead of trying to erase it after I have filled it in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another layer by pushing this add button. And then when I'm done with this circle, instead of having to go back and erase it, what I'm going to do is turn it off underneath the layer that I'm working on. So starting with my pencil brush, I think I'm going to make this a little bigger so I can fill in a good area at a time. I'm going to go probably a good medium to high opacity. I'm going to fill in this area. You'll notice that if I go over and over an area, it will keep darkening that until I get to the full opacity. And it's okay if my lines are a little not very neat right now because I am going to blend this all in later. Now, to do this a little bit lighter as I continue to fill this in, I'm going to turn my opacity down. And I'm also going to press lighter and lighter with the pencil. Until I kind of have this roughly shaded in. Now you'll notice that I'm trying to be really careful as I go around the edges because it won't stop me from coloring outside the lines. So anything that goes outside the edge of that circle, I'm going to have to come back in and clean up later. Once I have my colors about where I want them, I'm going to come in with this blending tool right here. And you can see this brush is going to be a lot bigger, so you're going to want to play around with this and see. I would keep your flow on this one pretty low. And you can see it starts blending all the colors together. Once I have this blended the way I want, I'm going to come back in with my ruler guide, with my circle, and I'm not going to move it from where I initially had it. But what I am going to do is now erase around the edge of my guide so I have a nice clean line. You'll have to experiment with this so you get a good clean line. You'll notice it's not erasing anything outside the edge of it. So once you turn your ruler off, by clicking right there. You'll have to come back again and kind of erase up to that line. And again, if you mess something up, you can always hit that back arrow, which is a lot nicer than drawing in real life, where if you mess something up, then you have to figure out how to go back or erase it on your paper. Okay. So when I've got that all cleaned up, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to press this little eyeball. I'm going to turn my outline layer off. So then I have a nice clean edge on the outside of my sphere. Now my sphere is done and shaded how I want it, but it's still floating out in space and I want to ground it to my background. And I'm going to do this by adding a cast shadow. So my light source is coming from this direction, so my shadow is going to head off over here. And I'm going to do this in a new layer. I think it's especially important in digital art to always add a new idea on a new layer. You can always merge them later, but if you mess something up or you want to start over, it's always easier to start over on your new layer rather than try and carefully erase around something you've already done the way you like it. So in my new layer with my pencil tool, I'm going to start adding the basic shape of the shadow. It's going to be the darkest closest to the object. And it will get lighter as you move away. You can just kind of rough this in, and then when you blend it, you can make it look smoother. Now, one mistake that I see a lot of beginning students make is they make their cast shadow this hard object, and then they fill it in with this hard outside edge. And if you look at shadows, like just look on your desk right now at different shadows that are being cast, a cast shadow fades away at the edges. It very rarely has this hard outside edge. So as we go through the semester, we're going to be adding lots of shadows to things, and don't ever draw a hard outline and then fill it in. You'll get points taken off for that. Now I'm going to come in with my smudge tool and I'm going to clean up this and make it look smooth and a really nice gradient like I have on the sphere. Now I need to erase here where my drawing on this layer has gone over my drawing on this layer. And I'll have to do that kind of carefully because I don't want to erase too much of that shadow. I'm going to push that color
back up into that edge there, just so it fills it in. And remember, the surface that your sphere is sitting on is going to bounce just a little bit of light back up into the sphere. So I've got it lighter here. I've got my reflected light kind of bounced up into here. I have my cast shadow. I have my core shadow where it's the darkest and the farthest away from the light. I have my mid-tone section where it's the middle colors, and then I have my highlight where it's the lightest. And that is how you shade a sphere.